Hello everyone, I'm Drunvalo Melchizedek, and today we're into question and answers again. We have listened to you to see if you liked what these question and answers, and you have said yes you do and you want me to continue, and so I'm going to continue for a while unless you tell me otherwise. I've noticed that a lot of the questions overlap. There are many that are very similar, and so many times I'm just picking one, but I know that I'm answering many others that have asked very, very similar questions. And so we'll just see how this goes. This one's from Erin, and she says, 5 months ago I gave birth to an amazing baby named Aurora, and during this time of transition, how are the young children going to ascend, especially those being born in 2012? I've heard this question many times over the years, and the answer is very heartwarming. What we know as Melchizedek is that on this earth, there are no problems except with adult humans. The animals, the birds, the insects, the bacteria, and all the other levels of that, they can make this ascension without anybody's help or anything. They know exactly what to do. And with humans, which is the only problem, there's no problems with humans from the time they're born all the way up until puberty. When they reach puberty, that's when they let go of their connection to the source of life, and they become an adult human being, which is part of the problem. And so you don't have to worry about your baby. Your baby will be fine during this transition. And children all the way up in 11, 12, and into it's only about 13, 14, 15 is where that transition takes place. And those children, once they make that transition, they're on their own at that point. They must understand how to make the ascension. But all of the children in the world are safe. And please, you don't have to worry about them. They will be able to make this transition easily. In fact, you may look to them for help because they will understand and know what to do when the energies begin to change. The animals and all of them, they will begin to feel this. They will, just like an earthquake before it ever happens, they can feel the energies. And the life of this planet will begin to feel it, except most humans won't know. But don't worry about your children. Let's see, this one is from Miguel Angel Martinez. And he says, we talk a lot about the Mayan prophecies, but what about the other religions and their prophecies? Are they true too, and sometimes they seem disgruntled? Well, I'll be real clear here. I'm speaking from a Melchizedek point of view, and I'm giving the prophecy as we understand it. And I'm also talking primarily at this time, because we're around 2012, around the Mayan understanding. And quite frankly, the Mayan understanding of this, what is about to happen, and our understanding from the Melchizedeks are identical, with the exception of one area which is something that they don't know about, and that is the beginning and ending of the longest cycle in the universe, of the beginning of the creation and the ending of the creation. They don't understand that. They don't know it because they've never had the experience of it. Well, nobody has, but that understanding has been told to them. But they still, all the Mayan prophecies. And the prophecies of the Kogi and the Arhuacos and the Hopi and many other indigenous tribes are all based on the understanding of the cycles of the sun and the moon and the earth and the cycles of the planets. And they don't know about these other things. And so now in terms of other religions and their prophecies, obviously the prophecies of some of these religions contradict each other. So one of them is true and one of them isn't, or they could both be not true. But I'm not just opposing the Mayan prophecy to any other religion right now. I'm just saying what they believe is going to happen, and if you choose to understand that and to move with that, then okay, that's the way to do it. But I'm not going down the road of other religions at this time. Okay, this one is from, oh boy, I don't know how to say this, Picascalfa. I don't know where that is from, but person says, here and there you are hearing about conscious shift, birth of a new consciousness, but we humans are not the only ones living on planet Earth. How about the trees, the flowers, about the birds and the lions? Well, I guess I just answered that question. All the living life forms on this planet are fine. They will make the ascension. Some of them have already made the ascension, and that is a very large number. It's about 15 million species. Because as the species goes extinct, and we don't have them here on the third dimensional world of the Earth anymore, they are not gone. There may be exceptions that have given up, I don't know. It is possible, but almost all of them have, or if not all of them, have transcended into the fourth dimension already. And which is and I'm not saying anywhere in the fourth dimension, that's the fourth dimension of the Earth. And so if you were to go there, you would see a lot of living things that we thought were gone, but are still there. But strangely enough, they may not look the same, because form and shape and color and sense of being and everything changes when you get into the fourth dimension. Let's see what else we have here. This is from Dora, and she says, thank you for these videos and for giving us the opportunity to ask questions. My question is, when you speak about going into the fourth dimension and getting into our new bodies with the big brains and having the loving parents, isn't that just like reincarnation? No, it's not. Reincarnation is something that we've invented here, although it's used in other planets under similar circumstances. What has happened, what reincarnation is that when we gain a body here, we go through our life cycle, and when it's time for us to die, normally we only live, well, it's complex actually. Oh man, I can't explain this all right now. We actually have to go through 8 lifetimes before we're really human. This is another subject. I could answer that in a moment, I guess. You have to go through 8 lifetimes. From an Egyptian point of view, and from a Sumerian point of view, and from certain Tibetan points of view, you have to have 8 lifetimes before you're a human being. I've only had 2. This is my second one, so I'm not considered human yet. I'm still part ET. And so it's on the 9th one that when you would reincarnate or not. On the 9th lifetime, that's usually completion for humankind. And you live that lifetime and you die, and through that you either resurrect or ascend. But what it means is you bring your body, this physical body, whatever you've got of it, you may not have much of it left, but whatever you've got, as long as your heart's beating, you're okay. And you bring that with you to the other side, and you die consciously. You remember your Merkava. You know exactly how to breathe. You know all the various aspects of ascension, and you get to the other side. And when you do get into the fourth dimension of the Earth, then you can stabilize yourself and become a fourth dimensional Earth being, and you go on from there. Now what that means is, in order to do that, you have to bring this body, the one you have here now, you have to bring it with you into the fourth dimension. And when you do, that you become a baby, an adult baby, an adult human being here becomes a baby in the fourth dimension. And that body then gets taller, grows bigger, makes a big head. You get about anywhere from 10 to 16 feet high, whether you're male or female. And that body becomes a fourth dimensional body. If you can't make it, if you go over to the other side and you haven't brought your body with you, you left it back on Earth and you died without your body, that's a problem. And that forces you to come back here again and to resurrect, to go through birth again, get another body. Now you have another opportunity to do it. People sometimes do this thousands and thousands of times, and they haven't figured it out. But eventually we all will. So that's resurrection. But ascension means you bring your body with you. You get to the other side. You are in your body in the fourth dimension of the Earth. And that is ascension. And if you can stabilize and stay there, then you've made it, and you don't have to come back again. I guess I'll give you a little bit of talk about what I mean by you have to live here 8 times. And this is a subject that probably very few of you have heard about before. You've heard about the Merkava and the star tetrahedron that is around the body. And that star tetrahedron has 8 points on it. When the point is faced in a certain direction, there's 4 of them that are male, and if you turn it in 4 other directions, there's 4 that are female. And in these 8 points, now that you understand that geometry, if you're coming from another world, you're coming from some other planet or another galaxy, and you come here to Earth for the first time, the first lifetime that you are here, you have to either be male or female, and you choose one. And so your point faces in a certain way. Then when you go through that lifetime and you die and you create your next body, that star tetrahedron rotates to another point, and that point then becomes your second lifetime. You go through this for 4 male and 4 female lifetimes, and at the end of that time, you then are a full human being from the ancient way of perceiving life on this planet. And that's what I was talking about. That's a huge subject. It would actually take me probably 45 minutes to an hour to explain it all in detail of what it all means and what the potentials are around that. It is the basis of the I Ching, for those of you that study the I Ching. The I Ching is based on the mother, the father, the 3 sons, and the 3 daughters. And that's the same principle that the I Ching is based on, which is the human DNA. It's the I Ching and the human DNA are identical. They're exactly the same. And so I can't go too much deeper into that right now. It would take an entire video just on that to fully explain it right at this moment. So let me go to another one and see where it is. Okay, this one is from Michael St. Lawrence. Are all humans on our planet, 6.5 billion plus, going to the 4th dimension at the same time when this shift occurs, or are there some, many, that will choose to continue on in the 3rd dimension orientation simply because they are not ready for the leap to the 4th? If so, where do they go if the Earth no longer will be functioning in the 4th dimension? I ask this because it seems that many humans right now on our planet are still in states of pretty deep delusion, addiction, and confusion. Well, if a human being is not ready to make the transition, and so the Earth begins to ascend, and this is a mass ascension. This is not just one individual or anything. This is a mass ascension that the Earth is preparing for. If a person cannot make it, what will happen is they will die. And if they die, they just take a slightly different channel, a different way of going into the 4th dimension of the Earth. And they end up on a slightly different frequency than where ascension or resurrection ends up. There's actually 3 different frequencies that are created just for humankind. And they'll end up in one of those. Every last person on Earth is going to make this transition without exception. We're either going to do one of these 3 things. We're going to die, we're going to resurrect, or we're going to ascend. It really doesn't make any difference which one you choose. I know this seems almost contradictory to a lot of things that people in the world are saying, and even things maybe that I've said. But this is just the way it is. What the facts are behind this is that when God created this universe, He told us to try all possibilities, do everything possible to experience everything that's possible in this world. And we're doing it. We're doing everything that's possible. And so it's possible to die, it's possible to ascend, and it's possible to resurrect. And so we're all going down these different channels. But if you happen to be one of the person that doesn't learn how to do the resurrection, doesn't learn how to do the ascension, and you just die, it doesn't really make any difference in the bigger picture, because ultimately you will end up in exactly, even though you start out in three different vibrations, when this is completely over with, you will be in exactly, all of us will be in exactly the same place on the fourth dimension of the earth. And so you can't go wrong. There's really nothing to worry about. There's nothing to be afraid of. And one isn't better than the other, even though one might be a higher tech, inner technology might be greater, it doesn't make any difference. I know there's people out there who probably say, it's not true, and have all kinds of ideas about it, but that's my opinion. Okay, this is another question. What is the differences between to make a program in the Merkaba and to create from the heart? That's a good question. Creating from the heart is a very elaborate inner technology that requires a great deal of knowledge and understanding and experience in order to do it. And it is a very specific state of consciousness that is required for that. If you are simply programming from the Merkaba, that's not creating. That is not creating. Creating is when you can actually make something happen out of nothing. You can create something just poof, poff, out of thin air. That is what is possible from the heart. But the Merkaba has a function that is possible to program into it so that it will do certain things for you. It isn't creating. It will protect you against electromagnetic fields, or it will control the temperature in your house, or things like this. But that's not creating. That's just a side effect of the Merkaba. It's not even an important side effect of the Merkaba. There's lots and lots of them. And that's one that I was chosen a long time ago when I started teaching this, because it's so simple, and it's one that is so easy for people to see the results from it, and that's why we brought it up. But it is not creating. It is a very, very different process. So you can't see those two things as the same thing. Okay, next question. This one is from Jeremy from Belgium. And he says, why are there two spaces in the heart, the sacred space of the heart and the tiny space within? Well, if you were to look at if you understand Metatron's cube, you will see, in fact, that's what's on this wall. If you could bring the video over to this wall, on Metatron's cube, you'll see this outer line here, and you'll see that there's a cube. I'm going to actually step over here to do this. Here's this line here. That's the cube. And these 6 lines coming in, if you look at just that, you will see a cube. But you will also see another cube inside of that cube. So there's a cube within a cube. If you look at the next form, the star tetrahedron, which here's the star coming like that. There's the big one. If you track all the lines, it maps it perfectly. But then if you look inside of here, here's a star tetrahedron inside of the star tetrahedron. It moves through all 5 of the Platonic solids. They're all there. All the cube, the tetrahedron, the octahedron, the icosahedron, and the dodecahedron are all in there, and every one of them has one inside of each other, the cube within the cube, for example. And this is one of the basic building blocks of the universe. These shapes are unique in all of geometry, and they are very, very important. And so we are simply reflecting that this basic principle of the universe is being reflected within our heart. It was Stanford at HeartMath that also discovered that there is a toroidal field that is generated by the heart. It is a huge toroidal field. It's 8 to 10 feet in diameter, but it's coming up directly from within your physical heart. And within that toroidal field is another toroidal field inside of it. There's a toroidal field inside of it in those proportions that are on the wall. And so, and what it is reflecting is the sacred space of the heart and the tiny space of the heart. Each one of that outer toroidal field is the outer space, which is called the sacred space of the heart, and the inner toroidal field is literally the tiny space of the heart. And so that's the reason why there are those two spaces. It's just nature. It's just the way it is. They're very different. You can't create from the outer space of the heart. You can only create from the inner space of the heart. That's where every single thing in existence came from. No exceptions at all. It all came from that small inner space of the heart. Right? If you're into creation, then you must be in the tiny space of the heart. It's just the way it is. But the external space, which is much larger, that one has all kinds of possibilities in there. We record, literally within the external space is the Akashic records of the entire universe. Everything that has ever happened is happening now and ever will happen in the future is already recorded in your space. When you learn how to go into that space and understand that level of the Merkava and all the work that is associated with it, you can know anything. This is how the new psychic children that are around the world, these kids are able to close their eyes and go in and tell you anything about yourself. They can tell you your bank account number. They can tell you anything. And they can tell it with 100% accuracy because they know how to access the Akashic records that is in the outer part of your heart, the sacred space of your heart. There's also an area in there that contains the Akashic record of just you. Everywhere you have ever been in the universe, from the beginning of time until now. And you keep that recording going. It has everything, every word you've said, every feeling you've ever had, every place you've ever been. It's all there. And there are other things that are really important that are recorded in there. Every person that's on Earth came from somewhere else. We're all ETs, really. The Earth is a brand new planet. It's not very old. It's maybe 5.5 billion years old, but it's not as old as the galaxy. It's new. It's out on an arm that's still forming, and so everybody on Earth originally came from somewhere else. And when you came here, perhaps in this lifetime, perhaps in 100 lifetimes back, whenever it was. But when you came here, you had a very definite purpose and reason for coming here. You're not a tourist. You came here for a reason. And wherever you were before, it developed a level of intelligence and understanding that you knew you had to come here for the next place, your next level of understanding. And before you left here, before you left there, and before you came here, you recorded in a very special place inside of your heart exactly why you were coming to Earth. This is when you get into the meditation of the heart, this is really important because once you do that, you can go in and access that and you can remember why you came to Earth because you had a mission, basically. You had a purpose for coming here. When you remember the purpose of why you came here, everything you're doing on Earth will change. I can promise you, because it did for me and I know it will for anyone. And when you remember why you're here, then your whole focus goes on that. That becomes the most important thing in the world to you, and your whole life changes accordingly. And when you start fulfilling your purpose, the universe supports you. Where you may be swimming upstream right now, and you discover what your purpose for being on life is, then all of a sudden it's like swimming downstream. It becomes very, very easy, and life everywhere just gives you everything you need. And so it's important that you do that you can remember that, and that's in your heart. There's another little thing that's in your heart that doesn't have to do with the reason for your existence and what your purpose is. It has to do with the desires of your heart. But when you came here, over many, many, many millions and millions and millions of years of being in other places, you have developed certain wishes or desires that you really would like to see happen in this universe, and your purpose is usually aligned with that in one way or another, and so you can find out what that is too. And when you remember what your deepest heart's desire is, it changes what's important in your life. And when you really know what it is. And so that's another thing that is in this outer space that's not in the inner space of your heart. But many things overlap. You can meet beings, you can meet your higher self, either in the higher self, either in the outer shell or in the inner one. And that's another huge thing that you can do within your thing, that if you go into the tiny space of your heart and you ask your higher self to come, your higher self will be there. You'll be able to see them visually and talk to them just like we are now, or telepathically. And once you, on a much higher level of existence, and you on the earth connect in that way, you're going to get guidance that is pure and safe and clear and on what to do. Once that happens, you don't need teachers anymore. You don't need anybody. You can just listen to your higher self, and he will carefully guide you through all the pitfalls of living on earth to get into the higher levels of consciousness. So perhaps what I've just said will help you to understand that there are these two different spaces between the sacred space of the heart and the tiny space of the heart are really very, very different. And there's only one way to know for sure, and that's to meditate, go into your heart, and to have direct experience of it. That's what I hope you all do, because it is probably the most important thing that you can do on earth right now. Let me see if I can find some more here. Okay, here's another one. This one is from Brian Hudson. And he says, thank you so much for your teachings. In your latest interview with Lilo Mace, you mentioned that once the new cycle begins on December 22nd of this year, that the personality poles will reverse, that men will become the passive gender and women will become the more aggressive gender. My question is, once we move into unity consciousness, won't these sorts of divisions be made moot or non-existent? Is the concept of aggression and passion something that's derived from polarity consciousness? Yes, it is. And polarity consciousness still exists on the fourth dimension. It's the last dimension that we have it. In this world here, polarity is really strong. It's about as strong as you can get. And our bodies reflect that. Our bodies are almost pure mass and very little energy. When we move into the fourth dimension, our bodies are almost pure energy and very little mass. The atoms are tremendous distances apart. If there was a fourth dimensional person in this room, you couldn't even see them because you look right through them. And so the polarity is still there in the fourth dimension. We still have babies in the fourth dimension. We still have bodies. We still have sex, male and female. We're not through with it in the fourth dimension. We don't hit pure unity consciousness until we hit the fifth dimension. From that point on, there's no more polarity. But we're not quite done yet, you guys. We've got a little bit more to go. This one's from Joanne Demmer. And she says, she has two questions. What is the link between illumination and ascension? Do we need to do all the process we learned at the ATIH workshop, tiny space of the heart, beams of light, opening third eye, if we have already received the illumination? Illumination is something that happens and it slowly it begins, and ascension is different. So I'll try to communicate what the difference is. The very first part of ascension begins, or illumination rather, begins when the heart and the brain are reconnected together again. And when they are, which for almost everybody on earth they're not, they're severed, they're not even connected at all. But when they do go through meditation and they reconnect back through the tongue and back through the glands in such a way that it opens the third eye, and these beams of light come out of your head, and they end on the end of a sphere around you. When the heart and the brain are reconnected, a sphere happens around you, and a halo forms inside of that sphere. You are actually creating light. That light has been scientifically documented by science now. It's fact. And they can photograph it. They can see it. And that is just the beginning. If you keep going, different parts of you begin to glow. And after a period of time where there are ones in the world, the Kogi and the Arhuacos Mamos, who live at about 16,500, 17,000 feet inside of caves, they glow in the dark and they float off the ground. And because they've reached total illumination. And their bodies, their whole bodies glow. There's still a step beyond that. And what happens when they go just a little bit farther beyond that, their bodies become light. Not just giving off light, they become light. And when two of those beings are together, they can walk right through each other. And so illumination has to do with literally a level of existence that is not where we're quite there yet, but it has to do with a level of existence. Ascension has to do with moving from one level of consciousness to another. And of course, the more illumination that your body has, the easier you understand how to make those connections. But sometimes you can sit for very long periods of time trying to understand how to move from one level to another. The Pleiadians are a very good example of this. They know how to turn their bodies into light. They know that they are light. They are capable of walking through each other, and they are capable of transforming their bodies to whatever they want. But they still have been trying for well over 1 million years, trying to get into the fifth dimension, to become not just formless, but to become the universe itself. And only recently, in the last few years, have they been able to do that. And so there's a few of them, only a few right now, and it goes faster and faster. It's kind of like popcorn. And first a few start, and then they all start doing it. But it is a huge thing in the Pleiades right now that they are beginning to move into another level of consciousness. And so it's kind of like a big game in the universe. It's kind of, you get to a certain level, and then you've got powers, and you can which enables you to get to another level, which gives you more powers. And it's okay, and it's fun. But we take things way too serious down here on the earth. We really do. If we just relax and just believe in ourselves and trust in life and let go and love everybody, it'd be a lot easier. But we don't do that. We take things really, really serious. Okay, I'm going to go to another question here. Oh boy, this may be similar. This is from Valentina from Romania. She says, the people which don't know about the Merkaba, what will happen with these people? I see so many very good human beings without information about the Merkaba, or they're just not open to the subject. Well, this is very similar to the ones we've already answered before. You cannot ascend or resurrect without the Merkaba. It is not an option, it is required. You have to know that, and you have to have it alive around your body. If you don't, what you do have is the seed. The seed is a star tetrahedron that's around your body that science can actually put up on a computer screen and can see it. And it's kind of like a plant. It's there, the Merkaba is there, but it's in seed form. It hasn't actually sprouted out and become a full living thing. And so those people that don't have the Merkaba fully extended, they will not ascend or they will not resurrect, but they can die. They know how to do that, and they will end up ultimately in the same place, and everything will be fine. I will take more time on the questions in the future and look through them more carefully. So there's so many here, and I realize that many of them are the same question asked in different ways. I'll get better at this as goes on. Okay, and so if you want to ask questions, if you're going to use email, go to drunvalo@drunvalo.net. And if you would like to post a response to this video, you can do that on YouTube and do exactly that. Okay, thank you guys. This is fun, and I'll keep doing it as long as you want me to do it. Okay, I love you.